female horses which have finished with their race course. This is a business connected completely to the race course.
People have a view that this sports is mostly for the rich. What are your views on that?
Pune was almost referred to as the Kentucky of India. It was a struggle, and there was a time when it was so bad that I almost was trying to tell my husband, let's try something different.
Right, because
he
you
was
were
the
not
guy.
a master in
yes,
that.
He knew what he was doing.
Technique. Our today's guest, Lorraine More, has created a unique space where people of all ages can connect with horses and variety of farm animals in a very nurturing and educational environment. In this episode, let us know more about her journey, her challenges while creating this beautiful world of Japalouppe. So, Lorraine More, please tell us a little about your journey and your interest in equestrian sports.
It's named after Japalouppe, the famous horse.
Okay.
But the weirdest thing is that when I chose this name, I didn't check who was Japalouppe, what did he do. I just looked online and said 10 horses that did well in equestrian sport. Let's call the company after that horse. And from the 10 names, this word Japalouppe just kind of came at me. And I picked it. I said, okay, that's the name. And my the people who were putting the company together said, ma'am, but remember, we cannot do this without taking permission. There'll be some rights issues and things. So maybe we can change the spelling a little bit. I said, yeah, we'll change the spelling, but I want to take inspiration from this name. I like this name. It's unusual. So, okay, the name was registered, the articles of association, Japalouppe was put in. I was the founder director. And later, as the company progressed, sadly, we kind of fell flat on our faces.
Okay.
I started it with partners who were Dutch nationals.
Okay.
And they kind of started in a big bang and everything was wonderful. We got lots of press coverage and everything looked great. But they were scammers. And I didn't see that and nobody else saw that. And we realized that maybe about 9 months after the company started, they took all the money they could from the financing that I had put forward and some more financing which they asked for. That also I managed. And they suddenly just said, we don't have money for this. They start putting pressure on me. And then I realized, oh gosh, what is happening? And they were not giving accountability for the money that was used.
Okay.
Finally, when we put pressure on them, they just left the company. They ran back to Holland and left me literally with zero, forget zero, but I was like under the ground. Japalouppe was under the ground. I had the option, either I shut the place down and declare bankruptcy because this was a private limited company. I could do that without getting too badly hurt. I would just lose what I had invested. That's it. And there were people who were screaming for money. So there were vendors that had to be cleared, bills and things. And they went and put some police case. And don't ask me, it was a mess. I was ready to go to the madhouse.
Oh.
Then I had two options. Either I go for the bankruptcy or I stay. Okay. And I got some support from people who were coming regularly. These were expat crowds.
Okay.
And they said, Japalouppe is our savior for us and for our family. Every Saturday, Sunday, we can come and ride and hang out here in this atmosphere. We will give you an advance for the next 2 years that we are going to be in India. Just take that, but don't shut it down. Because I told them, this is the scene now. I might have to just shut this down. Now, when I was struggling with all of this, a friend of mine sent me a clipping from an old Reader's Digest about the story of Japalouppe the horse. When I read that, literally the hair on my hands stood up. There was a parallel. Japalouppe the horse also fell flat on his face with the whole plan that his owner had for him. In equestrian sport, he did nothing. People laughed at him. They said, this is useless. And he almost thought, I'll never go and try with this horse ever again. Forget it. I don't have the money to once again try and show the world that this small horse can do great things. But he said, no, no, no. How can I not let the world know this? And he put the money with a lot of effort back again, took from support from family and friends. And Japalouppe, the horse, went back into equestrian sport and did wonders. And for the first time, the world said, okay, even a small horse can do show jumping and win and go up to the Olympics and win.
Wow.
So he became world famous. In fact, in France, there's a statue made for Japalouppe,
Okay.
and there's a movie put out, of course, in French. But I didn't know any of this. I came to know of this later.
Wow, and it inspired you.
It
This story
inspired me.
you.
This story inspired me to dig my heels in and say, no, why should I let this go? I believe that this company and what I envision for this company is going to work. It has to work. So I stayed on that path. And very slowly, we rose up from the ashes like a phoenix. And we are today where we are today.
Okay. Where did you get your love for these farm animals?
From the time I was a child, I always loved all animals. I grew up in a family that my dad was like he was crazy about animals. He'd bring home an injured bird which has fallen off the nest. He'd suddenly come home with a duckling. He'd bring a baby goat. We had dogs, we had cats. So we grew up in a family that was always, we had animals with us. So that love was there all along. Then I met my late husband, Samir, who had come back from England having learned about horses and stud farming. So his dad was setting up this stud farm for him in Talegaon, which is my hometown.
Oh, you belong to Talegaon.
I am from Talegaon. I grew up in Talegaon. And at that point, when I met Samir, I was working in Bombay. I just started out on my career.
Okay.
And I would keep coming back to Talegaon because that's where my home. And my brother was on holiday and he said, let's go. There's one young guy who's starting one stud farm. So what's a stud farm? didn't even know that.
Yeah, right.
So it's about horses. I said, oh, wow, horses, let's go. So the horses were dragged me there with him. And I met Samir. And Samir said he fell in love with me instantly. I did not fall in love with him instantly. I fell in love with the stallion.
Right.
He had a gorgeous, gorgeous stallion. Him, I fell in love with, but that kind of came a little ways down the road.
Right.
But that's where my love for horses started, thanks to Samir. So Samir told me all about horses. I learned all about horses. I helped him on the stud farm. That was our business. We were doing stud farming. And
what is a stud farming? Can you just explain in a layman language so that people can understand?
Sure. So stud farming is where you have a stallion or stallions and you have a big bunch of mares, female horses, which have finished with their race course. Okay. This is a business connected completely to the race course. So very different from what Japalouppe is doing. The horses is a common factor, but what we are doing with those horses is different. So at the race course, it's only thoroughbred horses. So these are thoroughbred horses, which are trained from the time they are ready to be trained, which is roughly at the age of 2, the horse is ready for training. Our job on a stud farm was breeding the mare and with the stallion and getting babies out of them and getting the babies to grow up as athletes, as the horses that are going to run in a race. So they had to be handled right and they had to be treated right. They had to be able to be brought up to trust human beings. That was the role the stud farm played. You have to bring them up with the right nutrition. You have to bring them up to be comfortable with people because they are going to have a person on horseback.
And that connection which they are going to make.
They have to be that kind of animals when they are ready to go to the next journey. The next part of their journey is where the trainer then trains them for the race track.
Okay.
Our job is not that. As stud farming people, all we are doing is bringing up the baby to be an athlete and to have the right nutrition. So that was our main focus, that they should be ready for the trainer. So that is the business I ran with my late husband, with my husband for many, many years. But sadly, it was struggling. We were small fry. The big fry out there were the ones who had other ways of using income to keep their business going. And many more jumped into the fray.
Any big players you
Well,
can
the
mention?
Poonawallas, the first
Okay,
biggest
right.
people in those days. Pune was almost referred to as the Kentucky of India. There were a lot of breeding farms which were there in
In
Pune.
Pune.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the big names was the Poonawallas.
Poonawallas.
Then Shapuji Mistry was also running his stud farm just on the outskirts. Both these were on the outskirts of the
Pune.
city.
Okay.
Now, we were in Talegaon, which is also on the outskirts of the city.
Right.
But we were small fry. And it was a struggle. And there was a time when it was so bad that I almost was trying to tell my husband, let's try something different. You love horses, so okay, we'll do something with horses, but let's try something different. But his love was for breeding.
Right.
And he knew, he was so knowledgeable about the different breeds and the different lines and which to go for and how to. He was good with what he did. Sadly, we didn't have the backing for continuing in the game.
That kind of backing, which is it. Because
Big
the
money
sport is
involved.
known as the sports of the classes,
Kings.
not the
Sport of kings, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
The polo clubs in Jaipur and many places.
Polo is a different part. It's a different horses being used in polo is a very different thing from the horses on the track. The race course is only dealing and with horses on the race course. Every horse has to be registered with the stud book department, and it's a very very complicated thing. Okay, there's a lot of work by way of putting it through the right channels and having vet from the panel come to your farm when the baby is born, and everything's registered and everything's perfect. Okay, it's a different thing. Polo is a different thing, and what Japalouppe is doing is a different thing. Okay, so that was breeding, what we did. So I was involved with the breeding farm and that horse breeding business with my husband. My husband for many years, I would say like almost 20 years. That's what I did. And I was just his back end support system. Right. He was the expert. Okay. Sadly, when he passed away, my younger son was still in school at that time. He was just not even finished with that part of his education. Rohan was also not even finished with his education and he passed away. We didn't have any money to lean on. And all I could think of is I have to do something. I have to shut this down. Right. I couldn't carry on with this. Firstly, I couldn't carry on without his help.
Right, because he was not a master in that.
Yes, he knew what he was doing. Techniques. I really didn't know enough of that whole thing to run it on my own. And then I thought of Japalouppe, meaning I thought of this concept.
Right.
Since I knew about horses, let's start something to do with horses. Which is not happening here, which is a new business and it would draw people's interest.
Yes.
So I thought of horse riding. I knew how to ride.
Now in Japalouppe, what things you carry in Japalouppe now?
What we are
Activities.
Doing, the different verticals in Japalouppe. Yeah. Right now we are teaching horse riding to all age groups. Okay, that's one. We are running camps for children where kids come and stay on our property. We have a boys' dormitory, girls' dormitory. Kids from 9 years old onwards, boys and girls stay. Bunk beds in the dorm. We make them as comfortable as we can, but we don't make it so fancy. We make sure that they understand they're learning horse riding as the primary objective. We can't be teaching them horse riding in an antiseptic situation. Right. So this is a farm. It comes with all the rough edges of what a farm is all about, right? And that becomes part of their journey in learning how to ride. They should be comfortable that this is a horse. He will have some matti on him. Yeah. He will be dusty. There will be times you have to groom him. You have to clean him. You have to be comfortable with his poop. Things like that, you know. So that's the reality of what horse riding is about. So we keep that balance, but at the same time, we maintain the hygiene in the kitchen, in the food, in the dormitories. So we make sure those parts are really kept clean.
It is a good hygienic learning and
in a safe surrounding.
Right.
So we make sure that the horses are well trained. The people who are managing the horses are well trained and the kids are safe in the sense that who are the people coming in contact with these children while they stay with us. We've taken responsibility for them for 6 days.
Right.
Parents have to be comfortable that they're going to be staying with us for 6 days and not having contact with them. No parents are allowed on the property.
Okay.
You bring and drop your children on day one. You come on the last day to watch the display. We have a nice display to parents
Okay.
to see what their
Right,
children have learned and how much effort we've put in and how much effort the children have put in. That's very important. They need an audience to clap for them on the last day.
Right.
So kids come back again and again because we have levels. They go
Right.
level 1, level 2, level 3.
And is there any kind of competition where they represent themselves?
Yes. So we have in-house competitions
Okay.
where the people who have been learning on camps or coming and privately learning how to ride, they come back again and again. And we bring them up to the point where they are ready to actually compete with somebody else who's on their level, because we always split up the competition to various levels.
Okay.
So everyone has a chance. So even a beginner has a chance
Right.
to go out there and see with other beginners, where do you stand? And that whole feeling of how you can put your best foot forward, how you have to get over your nerves.
Right.
Being in a competition is a different ball
model.
game.
Right.
So we have those, but then we also have the one up level with competition, which is where they compete with horses from outside other riding schools, private people.
Okay.
Everyone comes into Japalouppe. We host a 4-day competition in Japalouppe because now
Okay.
we're getting that kind of response.
Okay.
We first had it for 2 days, then we had it 3 days. Now we're
Nice.
doing it 4 days, and people love it. The attention we get from everyone, from the whole horse industry, from all horse lovers, they love to come and watch it and clap for their people and watch what's going on there. It's beautiful action to watch. And it's great vibe in Japaloop when we host this. We host this once a year.
Once a year. Okay. So is there any state level competition, any national level competition?
Yes. A lot of our kids who have been riding with us, people who have been riding and learning in Japaloop, have got up to even Asian level. So there's a boy,
wonderful.
Hriday Cheda, who came to us as a little fellow. He must have been 7 when he first came to us. In those days, we used to take 7-year-olds.
Right.
Now we have taken it up to 9. So Hriday, who came to us at 7, he just started riding with us, learned everything he had to learn. And that he always talks today to everyone, that put his real interest in horse riding. His love was developed on the camps that he came for Japaloop. He came to Japaloop camps. He followed my son, Rohan, who runs the place with me. He's followed him constantly. And slowly and steadily, Hriday rose to where he became so good. He then went abroad. He learned more. And then he went up to Asian level and he picked up gold for India last time. So Hriday is one of our kids, our shining kids, which we are so proud of. Till today, whenever he's in India, he has to come and spend time at Japaloop. He loves being there. So we've had lots of other kids, which, it'll take a while for me to mention everyone.
Right.
But there are kids who have come up to state level, national level, thanks to being at Japaloop and using us as the foundation board to take off.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of reaction do you get from people, kids, when they visit your farm and spend time with the horses and the animals there?
The petting
farm, yeah.
See, animal therapy is such a beautiful place to step into. In India, we are still in our infancy. Still, people are not so aware. But all over the world, it's regarded as a huge thing. I will say really huge, that in America, there are equestrian centers that are only used as therapy centers.
Okay.
War veterans who've come back scarred, children with emotional issues, with disabilities, they go to these places and come back enriched, come back having sorted out their issues. And you'd say, how? How does that happen? But remember that horses and humans have shared a bond since time immemorial, right? And that is so deep that a horse is one animal that connects psychologically, mentally with you on a almost spiritual level. You can connect, and a horse senses things from you. It
Okay.
is beautiful to spend time with a horse, touch him, be with him, look into his eyes, feel that connection. And the children who do that and feel that, it's so deep with them, like parents say, वो क्या जादू हुआ इसमें? आप लोगों ने क्या जादू किए हैं? And I said, हम लोग ने कुछ नहीं किए हैं. It has happened because horses and children, when they connect, that bond is beautiful.
And the
Imagine the feeling of a child. Now, I'm talking about like a 7-year-old
old,
who's
right?
sitting on a horse, and this is a huge horse weighing like, where's the weight of this tiny little thing sitting on the horse
Right.
and the strength of a horse? And yet this horse is connected with this child, and this tiny little kid is making the horse stop, making the horse go into a trot,
Right.
making the horse go into a canter. The horse is connecting and saying, okay, this is what you want me to do. Let's do this, let's do that. You want to take that jump? He's taking that jump and he's saying, if you're ready for it, I'm ready for it. Let's do it together.
Wow.
They have connected and they have done that. And that feeling for the child to know that, I have made this big, huge animal connect with me and we have done something together.
Right.
That's the beauty of horse riding. And it makes the child go home and feel so wonderful. It's the best kind of therapy for anyone. Whether
is
you're
very-
going to do a sport or whether you're just connecting with the horse.
Yes. It
It's
is very
beautiful.
easy for a child, innocent child, to get connected with someone. But the elder people, especially the people visiting you from the cities, how do they react to things? What experience you had, good or bad? Can you please share with us?
So, for people from the city, it becomes a struggle sometimes. And here I'll say only some people. Some people have an inherent connect with animals. Some people have to work on that connection. Okay. Some have inherent fears because they have fears with a dog, with a horse. Sometimes they'll say, oh, that dog is looking at me and they get scared.
Right.
And I've had recently a man who was petrified, a grown man.
Mm.
He's just standing petrified. And I said, sir, can I help you? What's the matter? That dog is looking at me. I said, he is looking at you. That's okay. He's not looking at you to eat you up.
Yeah,
I'm thinking to
to
myself,
bite
I
you,
didn't say it
right.
to him. You don't have frightened him. But that's the kind of fear some people have. I've had children jump on top of a table seeing the dog. They're so petrified. And sometimes I sit and talk to them and ask them, what makes you feel that way? And sometimes they have no answer. Sometimes there is a genuine thing that they've had a bite from a
Yeah,
dog, from a stray or something. And
a
that
bad
has left a
experience in the
scar.
past.
Yes,
Right.
in their minds more than anything. But some people just have a fear. So it takes a little while for them to get over it. We work in some ways to make them understand by talking to them. But
Okay.
I would say more than what we are talking to them, I'm talking about the children who come and stay in
Stay with
Japalouppe.
us.
There are kids who come really scared of dogs, okay? But our dogs do the job. Our dogs make them feel comfortable.
Okay.
I have a Rottweiler, and I
Oh.
learned from Rohan that how to manage a Rottweiler from the time he's a puppy. You draw lines, make sure your animal does not cross the line. Certain breeds, like a Rottweiler, like a pit bull, they are inherently aggressively wired.
Okay.
So it's up to you as the owner of the dog, as the parent, to bring your dog, like you bring your child, bring your dog up right from the beginning. Then you have less work later in life.
Right.
With children, it's the same. If early in life you bring up your child, draw certain lines. It's important. It's not like you're saying you don't love them enough. You love them, but you have certain lines where you say, these are lines, sorry, but you cannot cross.
Right.
I love you tremendously, but sorry, this is where you cannot go. Okay? So the Rottweiler puppy, let's say my puppy, I brought my puppy up to say, I love you to bits, but this you will not do.
Right.
Then, when that dog grows up, acknowledges you as the leader. When
Okay.
that child grows up, to draw a parallel, acknowledges the parent as the parent. So, as a parent, you know better than your child.
Right.
Your child has to listen to what your words of wisdom come from you.
Right.
Your dog has to listen when you're saying, don't do this. So, here's the role we play. So, we make sure all the animals in Japaloupe understand that. The horses too. The horses We make them realize that, okay, don't get freaked out if there's something fluttering suddenly. Try to stay. We make our horses
Calm.
to stay calm, to understand there's a rider who's nervous.
Okay.
You be understanding of the fact that there's a nervous
Nervous
rider.
rider,
Okay.
right.
So there are horses who are like that, who understand and are calm enough to accept fools gladly. And
Okay.
there are some horses who won't. It's like
Okay.
humans. We all have our specific characteristics.
Statistics.
Horses have that too. No matter how much we train them, there might be one of them who will say, no, I cannot handle
And
this. Then we have to see that and make sure that the right rider sits on the right horse.
Okay.
There has to be that. So in Japaloupe, we have a certain bunch of horses. We've kept them only for competition level riding.
Okay.
Those horses are only there in that space. Up
They
there.
are that matured. They are
Yes,
that
they understand
seasoned.
what is expected of them.
Okay.
And there are those who are sweet, who are so kind and so considerate and so patient with the new riders.
New riders.
Understand? That's how it goes.
But-
So with people who coming back to your question, people who come looking nervous, being nervous, it's just up to us how we manage them. And I would say 50% up to our animals, how they come across to them and make them more comfortable and make them say, hey, buddy, don't worry, chill, We're not going to eat you up. We're not going to do anything nasty to you. Just
Right.
chill. Yeah.
Right. They need to relax a bit.
Correct.
The people who are
correct.
coming to the farm as well. And plus, it is very rejuvenating to be in that surrounding where you have that safe and very educating and very nurturing environment
True.
where you can just forget all your hustle bustle of the city. And because I have personally been there.
You have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a wonderful experience.
Thank you.
The rabbits and guinea pigs and everyone just running around you. It is
Correct. See, now you tapped into that.
Right.
So you're that kind of person that you tapped into the fact that what Japaloupe is doing. What are we doing?
Right.
So we get people who sometimes come and nitpick with us, and they're not seeing that really big picture where we are doing something which is good for all of you. So forget the small things, the chota things there are. We are not saying we are so perfect with everything we have set up. There are places that we are striving to get better. See, the way we've gone is this been a journey. We're very slowly and steadily come today to where we are. It's 26 years.
Oh.
But we have worked at making the place feel that you can step away from your commercial hustle of your city life, come here, let your hair down and disconnect from all of that.
Right.
So Japaloupe, the vibe, the place, the atmosphere that we have worked to make is there. That's one part of it. But I would say there's a big chunk of Japaloupe and the vibe which comes from happy animals.
Right.
These are animals who know that they are in a place that they are looked after. They are in a place where we have put their well-being, their nutrition, their health, all these things on priority. All our horses, if you walk into Japaloupe and look at our 80 odd horses that we have there, they all look well. There are a bunch which come to us for nursing.
Okay.
Because we run also an equestrian hospital in Japaloupe.
Okay.
This is a new thing we started. It's Rohan's baby. He started this new project, which is a hospital. And we have a boy, Vishwesh, who works with Rohan. He's Rohan's understudy, who manages this thing. So we have these sick and ailing horses, or a horse comes because a baby is due. The owner doesn't have the network or the system, the infrastructure to manage a certain thing, comes with a problem like laminitis, which needs a long-term treatment.
Okay.
So these horses come to us for being there to nurture, to get them back into
So now
good health.
Japaloupe has a hospital too.
Yes.
I was
we're
about
very
to ask
proud
you
of that.
what are the plans of expansion in tourism or...
We have gone that route because every year we've added something more. Now, when we started, we were just a riding school. People would come, ride, go back, all age groups. Then we added on the petting farm. So the petting farm is my baby. That was my idea. And we started very modestly and slowly grew. So Rohan is the person who's the admin person in Japaloupe.
Okay.
He is also, I'm a visionary in certain ways, and he's a visionary in certain other ways.
Right.
Rohan, my eldest son, who
Yeah.
runs the place with me. So when I visualized what I would like to do with the petting farm, he fleshed it out. He did what would be the best for managing the crowds, how to make it flow, how to do it, how to make it better. So, and then I kept adding to it. And that was something that was close to my heart. So I was there every morning when it started. I was there constantly nitpicking with my staff, telling them what to do, how to do it, how to make the people comfortable, how to make the animals comfortable, how
Most
to keep the
important.
place hygienic, how to make it free of any kind of smells. And people are coming from cities, they're not used to this. We will be fine with the smell of this and that because we are
Yeah,
farm
right.
people.
Right.
We have gone used to that. But people who are stepping in from out, they're not used to that. They want the experience, but they have their things. They can't be encompassing
Pass
everything,
everything,
right? So that was my thing, part of the business, which I added on. Then Rohan came up with the idea of the hospital. That was another part which we added on. Then Rohan made his presence felt in the whole horse world. People who have other breeds, he stepped there into those areas, helped, let's say, Bhimtari horses being showcased, or
Okay.
whether it's the Marwari and the Kathiawari breeds, the indigenous breeds of India.
Okay.
He stepped into that space to create awareness there. And we've helped out people. We helped out people who are the horse people who are in Mahabaleshwar, in Mathiran, what they are doing to make them more to understand. This is
Created
all,
a community.
yes,
which
to say you
stands
can
with
do
each
more.
other.
You can
Right.
keep them in better health. This is what you should do. Rohan has worked very hard in all these areas to because we believe that the more people understand what horses are about and look after them, these are creatures who are sensitive. They
Yeah.
need your help. They need your understanding.
Right.
You should look at their health in every way you can. So we've done all those kind of things.
Is there a stay facility also in Japaloupe for people visiting?
So we ran that too. So we ran all
Okay.
these verticals. The camps were one of them, big one, running camps for children throughout the year because all these schools have different breaks.
Breaks,
So we
right.
run camps for children where they stay with us. That is one vertical. And then we introduced the stayovers. Now,
Okay.
the reason I smile when you ask me that is because
I caught that.
we started the stayovers and then we realized, no, this is not going to work because people coming here are thinking of us as a resort. We are not that.
Oh.
We are only giving you the farm experience, and because you're come on a farm,
So they
we're
are
giving you
coming
a
there and
room.
ordering French fries and milkshakes.
And really giving us a hard time and giving us
Right.
grief over small things. It's difficult for us, okay? Our priority and our focus is on the horses, is
Right.
on all the animals, the petting farm, the hospital. We got more important
more to
things.
do, right?
We want everyone to have a good time.
And you want like-minded people there, I guess. Or you
Right.
need to change their mind who steps in Japaloop.
People who
with the
understand that they've stepped into a farm. And if you've come and you're visiting a farm and you're staying over, don't expect that level of hospitality. We can't be giving you that. So then we realize that okay, we can do without this. Now we have not put that out on our website.
Okay.
Now what we do is we allow people to come and stay over, but only those who have come with the primary aim of horses and riding, or with the primary aim of being on a farm where there are animals and
Okay.
wanting to be in that atmosphere.
Okay.
So if we know, then that's what you are. You are welcome. We have 2 cottages. We have one tree house, which is very
lovely.
charming. So we have this. And then we have dormitory stays for larger groups who want to do, like they'll come in a big group. You want to stay in the dorm, do a campfire, do all that. You can do
Right.
all that barbecue and all. So we have those things. But we are careful about who we say yes
Yes
to.
to, right. What are your suggestions or input to people who are planning to start something like this? What could you, with your experience, what could you give away?
We
to the
do that. Rohan has helped out many people who want to start something. he has this beautiful attitude and saying that, let more people come into the game. The more awareness we are creating, even better. We are the veterans. We've been there for the longest
Right.
time. It'll take a while for anyone to
So
catch
your
up with
inputs
us.
are important.
Right. So we help out people. And if anyone wants to do something like that,
Right.
we say that don't just jump into it without having enough knowledge. These animals are so completely reliant on you. They are helpless. They are completely relying on your care. So make sure you know what you're doing before you start.
Okay.
Whether it is even a small thing like keeping a cat or a dog in your home, you must be aware of your responsibilities for that animal. That
Right.
animal is completely depending on you. Okay, think of that animal's well being, think of that animal's psychological well being too, not just physical. Looking at keeping a horse, think of what goes into keeping a horse.
Okay.
There's a lot. You need to keep the horse's hooves clipped on time. You have to make sure the diet is right and balanced. You
Yeah.
must make sure that horse gets enough exercise. You can't just keep him in a fancy, you can build the most fancy stable for your
Right.
horse, but the horse needs outdoor life.
Right.
He needs the right kind of care. And he's a sensitive animal. You can't keep one man who's going to whack him and hit him and be mean to him. A horse feels hurt the way we feel hurt.
Hurt.
Not just physical pain, but psychologically, a horse gets affected with anyone who treats them badly. It's a scar that stays in their minds.
Okay.
We found that horses that are from birth in Japalouppe, who've been born and brought up, are different from horses that we get from any XYZ place. Because
Okay.
we don't know what trauma that horse was
Had
subjected
faced.
to. Yeah.
Okay.
We are careful with all our animals that they don't get subjected to any kind of trauma. All our handlers are trained to understand the importance of that. Okay.
Okay.
So, anyone who wants to start, pay attention to the fact that there is a psychological aspect to that animal that you're going to have with you, and the physical well-being, the vaccinations on time, all those kind of things. That kind of responsibility, if you're ready for, by all
Go for
means,
it.
keep and go for it. And at Japaloop, we are there to help anyone who wants to pick up a phone and ask for us for any kind of help.
Okay.
We are there. We are always there.
So my question is now, how working with animal has changed you as a person?
I would say empathy is one of the first things that comes to my mind. Working with animals, being around animals makes you so empathic, makes you think of life differently. And the fact that that animal relies on you, like when I walk into my house and I've been away for even half a day and she greets me so enthusiastically, the love, unconditional love that your dog will give to you. If you have a horse that you've created that bond, that horse looks at you with so much love and makes you feel that sense of love coming from your horse. You give your horse that hug and you get that from your horse. So those are the things that I feel changed having animals in my life. And I feel that it fills up my life in a way that today, though I have been single for the longest time, because I've been a single mom to both my sons.
Yeah.
My husband has passed away so many years back, and I've stayed single. Relationships, I've had a few, but I find that today, without having a relationship, I don't feel the void. And that's
Right.
what animals
The
have
sense
done.
of fulfillment is there.
Yes. They give you love, they give you warmth, they give you the feeling that they're there, and they fill up your life. So I don't feel lonely. I have 2 cats and a
Yeah.
dog living in my house.
Right.
And when I go to Japaloupe, I have umpteen animals.
Right.
I walk into the bird cage. I have Tenzing, who I have brought up from the time he was a baby bird. He's a sulfur-crested cockatoo.
Okay.
He sees me and he comes rushing to meet me and to sit on my shoulder. And he comes and he'll rub his face against me. And when I walk out of the bird cage and one side of my face is white, people know I have been cuddling up with my bird. He's a
Okay.
white feathered bird, and all his white comes on my face. So
Uh,
Tenzing gives me kisses like that, and it's so fulfilling. That's what I
yeah.
get from my animals.
Do you read books?
I love reading, and both my sons grew up with being book enthusiasts. Samir
Okay.
was also crazy about reading. He loved reading. So we've all have been readers, and I just love. My favorite thing is to curl up with a nice book.
Okay. Lauren, I've noticed that there is a disclaimer on your website that whoever wants to ride, there is a weight limit of 80 kgs. Whoever wants to go for horse riding, why is it so?
So there is a reason for that. We've had people who are really heavy, 90 kgs plus 100, and it is not good for the horse's back.
Okay.
Horses can take a lot of weight, but there's only certain kind of horses that can manage that. Now in the old times, a soldier would run and go into battle
Right.
with armor, with heavy, wearing these heavy shields, and wearing things which are for battle.
Right.
And that would be a lot of weight for a horse to carry. But then there's a certain breed of horses which can do that. Not all horses can do that.
Okay.
In Japalouppe, we have only one or two which can take weight and without a problem.
Okay.
So we've identified that these horses, even if they take a heavy person, they can manage it.
Okay.
But that horse also has a limit to how many times it can do that. It takes its toll on horses.
Right.
So we say this as just to keep it safe, because our animals are priority for us.
Right.
We very sweetly tell people, you really are keen on this? Then use this as a aim
Right.
to shed that 5 kilos
kilos
or
and
6
come back.
kilos. Come back to us. You'll be fitter. You'll be happier for that. And our horses won't have a problem to deal with that extra weight.
Right.
The horses do have a problem with heavy weight.
Okay.
We just have 2 horses in Japaloop who can take
That much weight.
that much weight.
Are there any agencies which control, regulate, and working what you do? Are there regular inspections?
In India, we still don't have bodies that do that specifically.
Okay.
We have a lot of animal welfare groups
Yeah.
that look out for animals that might be ill treated. But that's a more extreme kind of thing that they're looking and for.
Okay.
But there's no regulatory body to say that, this place should have, these are the criteria, these are the norms you have to follow, and make sure that, horse riding places, for let's say, for instance,
Okay.
that you all have to adhere to these norms.
Norms.
Cruelty is the only thing that these animal welfare groups look out for.
Okay.
These are the red flags they look out for. If they hear that there's any cruelty involved with any place that is keeping animals,
Okay.
then they come on very,
If
very,
someone
very strong.
reports it to them.
Oh, yes. If anyone reports cruelty, they will be there. And
Okay.
they will check it out. And then you cannot think that, okay, I'll try to manage this and all.
Yeah.
No, it will not happen.
Okay.
And I'm so glad that today we have reached that place. It wasn't the
Right.
case 15 years back.
You had seen any kind of such
Oh,
experiences?
yes. There have been places where animals are. Still, even today, animals are being ill-treated, not being fed well, kept in miserable condition. And what can this animal do? Can he complain to anybody?
Right.
There's nowhere that animal, or there's nothing that animal can do to help itself. So that's only us humans who have to have that. So because there are these animal welfare groups, I'm happy that they are doing a good job by keeping an eye out.
So do you think there should be some law or regulations? It should be
100% there should be, and it's good to have that, because the places that run these kind of things, they will up their game. They will
Right.
make sure that all their animals are being vaccinated on time, that the place is kept safe for people and for the animals themselves. So it is important that you should have. If you've got dogs that people are being exposed to, all your dogs should be vaccinated on time, should be looked after. There should be no neurotic conditions in your animals. So all these things are important. Having regulatory bodies to maintain and manage these things is important. All over the world, in the Western world, they do have it. India still has to get there.
People have a view that this sports is mostly for the rich.
Mhm.
What are your views on that?
I would disagree.
Okay.
आई वुड से घोड़ा चलाना है तो कोई भी चला सकते हैं एंड सीखना है तो कोई भी सीख सकते हैं.
Mm.
अगर आपको स्विमिंग करना है और you want to learn how to play professional football, or you want to learn something from a instructor who's personally going to instruct you and help you with a new sport, you'd kind of average pay the same what you'd pay to come to a place like Japalouppe or any of the other. So many new equestrian centers have been opened. So if you want to learn, what you're paying will be almost the same. It's absolutely possible to turn horse riding into your lifelong sporting hobby, unless you want to go into the international arena. There, it'll
Okay.
become expensive.
So you mean to say that it is for everyone?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally, anyone can learn. It's not that expensive to learn how to ride a horse.
Can you recommend any two favorites of yours for your listeners who are watching you?
Ooh, that is tough.
Which could
Because
anything.
well, I would say, since we are all discussing and talking about animals, I would say Gerald Durrell is one of my favorites. He's written many books in connection with animals. Talking about books, I hope that we can put together a book
Book.
of stories,
Yes,
of
much
actual
needed.
stories which have happened, funny things, touching things. And Rohan is a great writer. He writes beautifully. So
Oh.
I think someday we will put together a nice book.
Yes,
with
and we'll
stories
be
about
launching it
Japalouppe.
here on Make the Shift.
I'd love that.
Thank you
love
so much,
that.
Lauren. It was a lovely conversation. We got to know
My
so much
pleasure.
about animals and the emotions they have, which many of us were not aware. Everyone just talks about emotion when it comes to a dog or a cat. But the way you talked about horses and other farm animals and the surrounding and the nurturing environment you are giving to them, I hope everyone will, after watching this podcast, will surely visit Japaloop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's an honor being here talking to you. Thank you, Priya.
Thank you for watching this video. And if you want to listen to such more interesting and inspiring videos, please like, share, and subscribe our channel. You can also get the link to Japaloop Equestrian Center in our description below. Thank you.